What's up, guys? Welcome to Computex 2024. You know, it wouldn't be a Robeytech stream without some sort of minor thing. And guys, I will tell you what we're doing right now is actually very complicated, but you guys have never done something like this before. This is live stream.
A live booth tour? No.
No,
I can't say we've never done that before.
The whole thing is going to be live, which means we have every opportunity to have it do. You guys will be able to see, chat, everything. We got Damien. Damien, say hi.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So Damien's in the chat. He's basically paying attention, so he'll be asking us questions, all that sort of stuff. So you guys will be able to have a fully interactive experience right here at Nvidia. Now we're going to have a very packed hour showing you as much as we potentially can of everything that we're going to be doing here live. What do we got in store today, Jacob?
We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I guess we can start right over here if you want.
Okay, so let's start right here. So what is this? And what are we looking at here, other than some very, very popular PC cases and GPUs?
Yeah, so this is our new initiative around small form factor PCs.
Okay.
So we came up with a new initiative with the case manufacturers and graphics cards manufacturers together and created a new set of guidelines that we call small form factor ready enthusiast GeForce cards. So let me just grab this over here. So if you take a look at this right here, this is an RTX 4080 Super.
Yep.
Right, and this is a pretty big card.
It is.
Right?
It's a thick, chunky boy.
Yeah. So if you're an end user or a builder or whoever, and you want to build a small form factor rig, which one of these is this going to fit into?
It'll actually fit in this one.
Yes.
It will fit in the Terra. Yeah.
You know that.
I know that. Yes. So I was like, this is just my opportunity to try and make sure that I could pass the test.
Right.
Jacob's like, there are some of them, but there's no guarantee that that's going to fit in anything.
And also the other factor is that a lot of times the card may fit, but the cable doesn't fit.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors when it goes to fitting a graphics card into a PC or a small form factor PC. So our this is a set of guidelines that we created to basically, if they fall within these guidelines, they can advertise it on the product pages as SFF ready enthusiast GeForce card.
Now, is there going to be one of those little fancy badges that people can add if they wanted to?
Yeah. There's no badge at this time. There is artwork that we provided that the graphics card and the case manufacturers can put on the page, and it also will be called out. So it would be searchable, for example, on an e-tailer website. So yeah, these are all the cards. We have over 35 cards that are in the program today.
So I like how you said it. These are all the cards. There's 35, but there's only 8 on the wall. So there are more than this.
There's a lot more than this.
There's a lot more than this. And I see some very popular ones here. Obviously the P&Y, which are very, very thin and nice. The 47 Eagle, which we just did a whole video on. And then, of course, you've got your Founders Edition, with the black and stuff like that. And then this one right here, which is... this was the only 4080 Super, right? Which is their thin card and all that sort of stuff. What are the guidelines specifically? Because that was the thing, as you said, so what is it? What does it essentially say?
So I don't know if you can see this on the camera here. So basically, we're saying that for the graphics card, it needs to be 151 millimeters in height, and for that one, we're also reserving 35 millimeters for the cable and also for the cable bend.
Right.
For the length, we're saying 304 millimeters, and the width is 50 millimeters or 2.5 slots.
Okay.
It's essentially that Asus ProArt card there is essentially the largest
largest of the cards that you can actually do it in.
Right. And still fit within this form factor.
And so that was the thing that was super important, is you're also saying you don't have to go buy some special cable mod cable or anything like that. It'll work with what comes in the box, and you're basically good to go with anyone.
Like I was saying before, a big factor is actually the cable.
Right.
And the bend radius.
Right.
So and some of the cards are different, how they offset the power connector. So basically, we're reserving 35 millimeters of space that the cable can go into and still have enough clearance.
And it really seems like, the thing is, we had the fractal mood, we had that new ProArt case that they showed over at Asus, including also the ROG with back connect, but the point is that there seems to be this big resurgence of small form factor cases, and so it feels very timely. And then the other thing too is obviously with Intel and AMD announcing much lower powered chips, these are going to be cooler, and and then the other thing too, guys, is that the 50 series, I'm just kidding, or whatever it is. No, but point being is that it's neat to be able to see these smaller form factor cases kind of coming back into it and all that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
and you got to be the guy who presented it on the press thing, which is actually pretty neat.
Yeah. We've been working on this for some time. So we've been working closely with the not only the graphics card, but also the case manufacturers as well. And for the case, we have a similar set of guidelines, that if there's a cavity in this space, then it can also be called small form factor. Ready.
This was actually a pretty rad. I mean, like, again, I don't know, Damien, anybody saying anything? What's the feedback on the whole thing?
I mean, there's a lot of hype in the chat for Jacob, that's for sure.
All right. There we go. People are happy about having Jacob, but okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, again, I think it's neat to do that, and I know we have a lot of small form factor builds. We got the mood coming up as soon as we get back.
The other kind of factor with all this is that, if you're, for example, if you're a case manufacturer, it can be difficult. If you want to build a small form factor case, it can be difficult to know, like, what sizing to put for the graphics card. So this kind of gets a common guideline that they can follow if they want. Obviously it's optional, of course, but it does give a guideline that chassis manufacturers can follow if they want to, have a wide variety of cards that can fit into this form factor.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
There is a question about that gold case that's behind you guys right now. Which one is that?
That's the Thermaltake, the Tower 100. So there it is, right? I think that's actually case modded a little bit. That's just Thermaltake, and you guys will actually be showing. We'll actually be hanging out with them a little bit later on today. Not live streamed, unfortunately, but yeah, that's what we're looking at here. But every one of these cases, essentially, and you guys have seen us. We've done the Encore 100 Max on the show. The Terra, obviously, the A21. The AP201, which we've done a recent build in. So most of these cases, you guys have actually seen on the show. But now you know that if you buy the ones in the GPUs and the cases that are marked, that you can make a small form factor build.
Also, I will mention that there's a list on the GeForce website. If you go to geforce.com, there's a list of all the graphics cards and cases that are currently compatible. But that's just, we're continuing to work with more vendors, especially on the case side, that will continue to be expanded.
So it'll be bigger and bigger. And again, there's the good thing is everybody, there seems, like I said, there's like almost like this renaissance resurgence as you guys have gotten cards smaller, and a lot of people, I mean, like even the card we're giving away today, that little 4060 is so tiny. So it felt fitting for us to give away that. We will be giving away that near the end of the stream, but we have a lot more to see first, including we got some new stuff with GeForce Now, yeah?
Nvidia app.
Nvidia app.
Yeah,
that's
right.
right.
So Nvidia app beta, it launched in February, and it's gotten great feedback. You can get it now. It's a beta. It's much quicker. Has a RTX HDR that adds HDR to your non-HDR titles. So in this, we just, as part of Computex, we have 2 new features as well that we are introducing, and one is performance tuning.
Okay.
So you have you can overclock basically, or you can also set an automatic overclock where it'll scan your system and then it'll apply the overclock for you.
And you said feedback on this has actually been really, really positive so far. It's much lighter, and then the other two is you guys, this is where, if you want to see the new features and stuff, this is where that stuff is going to come moving forward. When do we know any window on when we're going to see the final switch? And
yeah, I don't have a date on that one yet. For GeForce Experience, which was the previous app, if you install Nvidia app, it'll essentially replace GeForce Experience today.
Okay.
It has almost all of the features that GeForce Experience had. The performance one was one of them that also just got added. That was in GeForce Experience, and now it's in the Nvidia app beta. But we're continuing to add more features. More control panel features are going to make the migration over as well.
The point is, you're trying to say we want to do a lot of testing before we actually have it replace the one that's currently out there. What's up, Damien?
A question from the chat about the RTX tuning, wondering if that works with the 3000 series GPUs.
Somebody's asking if the RTX tuning works with the 3000 series. Yep. Jacob says yes. He loves all of his. They love all of their children. They love all of their children.
The other new feature that's coming to the Nvidia app beta is AV1 encoding.
Oh wow! Okay.
So now if you record your videos, your gameplay videos, you can encode an AV1, and I'm sure you're familiar.
Yep.
AV1 just much more efficient compared to H.26, 264, 65. You can get smaller file sizes, better image quality, and it supports up to 120 frames per second.
Which is actually, I mean, that in and of itself is actually really rad. Which, I mean, you can play on YouTube and all that other stuff as well. So super cool. So again, all you have to do is if you go and download just the driver, don't install the Nvidia GeForce Experience, then you can go download the beta, and then this will update itself and all that stuff automatically, and let you know that you need new drivers and all that sort of stuff. And then, and you can get this now.
Yeah, so this is the new interface. I mean, it's available now, but also you can update drivers directly from here as well. And it doesn't, if you notice we're not logged in, does not require a login to use as well.
Yeah, which people were very happy about, and so thank you for doing that. And then the other thing too is that there are also, if you want to get updates on Jacob's family pictures, there's a hidden button down here, and it'll actually show you what Jacob's been doing with his family.
You have to put in the Konami key.
Up, down, left, right, BA start. But it can only be with a true Nintendo controller that you have to pre-wire in it. It's very hard to get.
You can't use a USB one.
You can't use a USB one. It's got to be exclusive from there. Okay, so what do we got next to us? Because I think this one is important. And you know, it's funny because as we were walking through the things that we were going to talk about, I think a lot of people don't understand really what DLSS is. You know what I mean? They know that it does super sampling and all in all, and AI does things, but there's also things that like are in there with ray reconstruction, etc., that actually fix and enhance things beyond what you'd see even in native mode. So here we are. We're obviously looking at Alan Wake.
So let's do a test. I don't know if this is going to come through on the stream. But
we have a high, nice camera. Oh yeah, but then again, we're streaming.
Which one would you rather play on? I'm asking the stream. Which one? I'm not going to tell you any context yet.
Oh yeah, I'm going to see you do that. I'm going to look on the thing and see if it's actually coming through. Oh yeah, it's coming through. Okay.
Which one would you rather play on, Robey?
Well, obviously the one on the right.
Yes. Yeah, so this is showing Alan Wake 2 at 4K resolution. These are both RTX 4090 systems, so basically the highest end. And what we have on the left here is we have essentially native resolution. So that's running at full 4K resolution. You know, no DLSS, no super res, no frame gen, no ray reconstruction. You can see the frame rate counter up here is 31 frames per second.
Yep.
And then on the right here, we have DLSS 3.5, which gives you frame generation. Obviously, it's creating using AI to generate an entire frame. It's using super resolution as well, so it's using AI to upscale, lower resolution, better performance, and then it's also using ray reconstruction, which is the new feature that was introduced in DLSS 3.5.
And then there were some places that they talked, like for instance, they're talking about even here, if you look at native versus even in this location right here, just how much clearer that you can see the bottle reflections in this versus looking at the native. You can see they're actually a little bit fuzzy. You're actually missing sections of it. You can see there's almost a line here. None of that exists on the DLSS 3.5. And this is where AI is taking and doing things to enhance not only the image. So you actually are getting a better experience at above than what you would get in native, and that's where AI is helping.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are like, how's AI going to help me in gaming? Well, I mean, like we have a few other demos as well, but I mean, you could look at this like essentially AI off versus AI on, right? I mean, DLSS is using AI to upscale, frame generation is using AI to generate a frame, and then ray reconstruction is using AI to essentially clean up the reflections.
And it used to be, I mean, like Cyberpunk was kind of like your pinnacle, but now you guys also have, I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn, you have new Star Wars Outlaws, you know, the number of games keeps increasing, and the other thing too is the people taking advantage of it, and it sounds like you guys are working with developers to make it easier and easier. So I think it feels like, you know, where Jensen talks about Moore's Law being dead, the thing is that what we've done is we created this new rule with AI where essentially you're just going to get a better experience.
Yeah, like for example, in this, you know, if you're a developer, you're not going to ship a full ray traced game if it only can run at 30 FPS on the highest end of hardware. So if you know, DLSS frame generation has really enabled developers to be able to add like these options like that to.
Stream is paused.
What happened?
The screen froze.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we'll just say activate again? Oh, we lose the
Screen froze.
Oh, okay. What's the matter?
Yep.
All right, we're good. All right, let's keep, now we can move. We got to have at least one per room, apparently, Jacob. All right, so here we go. Let's move. So take us to the next room. Where are we going?
Okay, we're going this way.
Yeah, we just accidentally kicked into dark mode again, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Did we have any other questions at all, Damien?
So lots of comments. People really liked what was on the right side there. Said that that guy looked like he was really enjoying the flavor of his soup in the background.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, everybody loves soup. Okay, so now we have a new guest. Somebody new. Oh, there you are. Now you're green. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you wanna give everybody the intro and what we're gonna look at today? This is a new person. Don't worry, guys. Nick's just off camera. He's currently already texting his family. He's like, look how famous I am now that I'm on the show all the time. So yeah, no. Who are you, and then what do you do, and then what are we going to see?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. My name's Guillermo. I'm a senior product manager here at Nvidia. I mostly focus on our competitive gaming products, so stuff like Reflex, DLSS, G-Sync, but I also work on some AI projects that I think are pretty cool, and that's what we have in this room. So we have Project G-Assist, we have some of our ACE tech, with Perfect World, and then we have the covert protocol narrative all the way on the left. I think you've seen these before,
yeah,
haven't
so
you?
we have definitely seen covert protocol. We had a lot of fun having doing that and showing that for the first time. It actually got debuted like at PDX Land, and then we got a chance to actually show that live on stream, and people had a really good time asking him questions. It was about, I mean, they asked some pretty weird questions, which was actually pretty fun. And you guys will still have your chance to do the same thing here today. Yeah. But the one thing I like, especially with the Project G-Assist, is this is where we start to see AI really impact people's gameplay experience. I mean, these ones are... People understand that like we're going to have AI in terms of natural language and dialogue, and it makes characters more real. But this is something that people look at in terms of Arc essentially integrated it to the point where it's like, if I'm lost, if I have questions about how my performance and stuff. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, let's start there. Okay. Yeah, sure. So here it is. So this is Project G-Assist. So this is a project we've been working on over the past couple months. And essentially, it's a tech demo. So it's intended to showcase how developers, the community, can essentially build AI assistants for their favorite games or applications. So the prototype today can do two things, like you mentioned. One is it can provide game-specific guidance. In this instance, we've worked with Studio Wildcard for an assistant that can help with their game, Ark Survival Ascended. And then the other use case is it can help you with overall system information, tuning your system for max performance and efficiency. So
And that's the part of this. This is an actual real, like the ones that we have for the ACE demos. These are proofs of concept, but this is actually integrated into a game that's live that literally millions and millions of people play. Yeah. Millions and millions of people rage over. Thank you, Ark. But yeah, like all in all, so we're seeing what could be something that could eventually show up in Ark.
Right. Sure. So there's a bit of nuance there in the sense that it is not exactly integrated, but it optionally could be. So the assistant could live, maybe in GeForce Experience or NVIDIA app, or it could live as a standalone client, or Studio Wildcard might choose to integrate it inside the game. And so there's a lot of options. The idea is to give or provide a tool set that is effectively very flexible for whatever the developer's objectives are. So if you want, we can get started. So,
yeah, let's do it.
So, there's a bunch of AI models that are running concurrently, and you can feel free. I've been asking it some questions, but the idea is, whether you're a new player, maybe you're trying to learn a new game like Ark, or you're a veteran, or you're trying to figure out like what the best weapon is. The fact is that, sometimes we like to explore and go in blind and discover for ourselves, and other times we just want to look stuff up. And the idea is that you'd have an assistant that's context aware, that can personalize its recommendations to your playthrough. And so let's talk about some examples. So for example, it has speech recognition. So I can say, hey, how do I craft a stone hatchet? So the speech recognition is running locally on this 4090. And then we'll talk about all the different components.
And so now it's going up there, it's processing your request and all that sort of stuff, and then we're gonna get some information back here.
Yeah.
There it is.
To craft a stone hatchet, you need to unlock the engram at level 2 for 3 engram points. The ingredients required are 1 flint, 10 thatch, 1 wood, crafted in your inventory.
So there's different voice models that the developer might choose to implement. Right now it's running in a hybrid configuration where some models are running locally, sometimes they're running on the cloud. And the idea is, depending on what the developer wants, they can have it all run locally or all run on the cloud.
Right.
It's just an idea of providing them with flexibility.
And then again, a lot of it has to do with what's the size of the model and all that sort of stuff, and determining what it is, right?
Exactly. So you want like a controller that's able to determine what runs where. So the vision models, for example, that's also running real time and locally. So I might say something like, hey, what's that dinosaur over there? I'm not going to specify what it is. I'm not going to talk about which one. And so the vision models are going to run locally, and they're going to try to determine what I'm talking about. Oh, cool. So actually,
the dinosaur in the center left area is very likely a parasaur, and the one in the center mid area is very likely a triceratops.
Which, there we go.
So that's true. So obviously, there's a triceratops. This guy is a parasaur. If I get closer, you'll see the text.
Yep.
What's cool is that it's saying it's very likely a parasaur. So it's a probabilistic model, and it says, I'm pretty sure that's a parasaur. And it's the one on the left. And the one in the middle is a triceratops. But it's not just limited to, dinosaurs on the screen. Maybe you're looking up.
Character looks just like you.
I know. I carefully curated him just so that it would look exactly like me.
It's like, your hair, you've grown it out a little bit since
I know.
then.
I think I've grown a little bit. Yeah.
I had a question about GSS
players sometimes, might need help understanding what skill they should level up next, for example, or help with their inventory. Maybe they're looking at their map and they want to know what cave to explore next. So I could ask.
So before we do that, we have a question from chat. What is it, Damien?
Okay, question from chat is, will this have the option to be run locally versus on the cloud?
So he was talking about, they were asking, will this have the option of running locally versus on the cloud? And that's a developer specific thing, which we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so the developer would have essentially the capability to control what runs where. So for example, if you have a very high-end hardware, then you could have everything running locally. Or if you feel like if they feel like they might need a little bit more help, then they could just leverage on the cloud for no impact to performance. Right. Again, it's this idea of flexibility, and the developer will have complete control over that, which I think is great.
Awesome. So now we're going to ask it. We're going to say, like, I'm a new player. I'm coming in. I've got all of these options. Which, come on, let's be honest, that can be overwhelming sometimes. Like, where do I put the points? So this is where this might be able to help me. So how does it do that?
Yeah. So it's scanning what's happening on the game window. So for example, as I mentioned before, it's not integrated into the game. So it's visually recognizing what all the different menus are. It's looking at the stats. It's looking at the icons. So for example, I asked it, which one's easier to tame between the Triceratops and the Parasaur? And it's saying the Parasaur is easier because the Triceratops has more health, for example. So I could say, okay, so what items do I have in my inventory that could help tame it? So there's a bunch of stuff in the inventory that would be useless, but ideally it should be able to recognize, okay, great, so it's actually listing some of the Parasaur's preferred food, like mejoberry. I do have mejoberry. I have tintoberry here. It's saying I have simple kibble. And so, similarly, you could ask something like, of the stuff that I have, what can I craft, for example? So that's the basic idea. But that's just one portion of the assistant. Do you have any other questions in terms of how the game-specific assistant works?
I like how I'm looking at the sky, like I'm supposed to be talking to. Yeah, David, do we have any other questions? Anybody else that wants to have anything that came up?
We do. We do. Yes. Yep. So one question is there any conversation about G-Assist being whitelisted for competitive games?
Okay, and then one question is there any conversation about G-Assist being whitelisted for competitive games?
Oh, I see. Is a concern anti-cheat, for example?
Yeah, anti-cheat, so to speak.
Yeah, so
developer, right?
Since we're collaborating with the developer, this is not something that I think should be a concern. The other part of it is G-Assist is not injecting anything into the game. It's simply attempting to recognize in a similar methodology that Shadowplay does, for example, using the frame buffer, what exactly is happening on the screen. And since it'll be built in collaboration with the developer, even if we give out, for example, this is just a tech demo, but if in the future we give out an SDK to press like IGN, who have a lot of knowledge about games and walkthroughs or wikis, for example, they would have to do it in collaboration with the developer, and so I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
and so you couldn't be like, hey, if you were playing something like, like Fortnite or whatever, hey, G-Assist, just make sure I do nothing but headshots.
That was the idea for the original April Fool's joke. Do you remember this USB?
I do not. I don't remember this. I do remember the USB because I actually have one. But what was the joke?
The joke was that what was it, Jacob?
Yeah,
like 7 years ago?
2017, I think. Is my mic on, by the way?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, yeah. 2017, there was an April Fool's joke, and the joke was about using an AI assistant, and it was called G-Assist. And basically, you plug in the USB, and then it would like play your games for you, basically, all that kind of stuff. It was
I don't think we're quite there yet.
It was an April Fool's joke. So like G-Assist is actually like, I'm not saying that it's going to play your games for you,
right.
But it is one step towards like an AI
assistant, an AI agent that basically will help
That's
you.
That's
with
helpful,
your
baby steps,
yeah,
right?
Baby steps.
Like in the future, I used to play Counter-Strike at a really high level,
right.
so I remember watching my demo replays for CS:GO, for example, and trying to analyze where did I go wrong here. Maybe I was holding the angle a little bit too closely.
Right.
Maybe I missed that smoke and there was a gap. So it'd be cool to have like an AI coach that could kind of like with how Aim Labs does it, that could help you improve. So there's a lot of possibilities, or even teaching you how to use Blender or Premiere, stuff like that.
Which is, that stuff's really cool. I actually used to play StarCraft at a really high level, but then they moved me to the first floor, so I was just like, it was pretty.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere still. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, Damien, before we move on?
Yeah, what happens if you ask the AI something not related to the current game? Is it window locked or app locked?
Yeah, and somebody just asked, what if you ask it something, you're just messing around and you ask it something that has nothing to do with the game? What is it? How does it read? It's like,
great idea. So let's talk about how exactly this works.
Okay.
So there's multiple modalities of how you can talk to it. So obviously there's voice. I've been chatting with it. Sometimes I prefer that. So what happens? So there are multiple runnings that are occurring. So the speech recognition is one. Then there's obviously the vision models that I just showcased. And then there is an LLM at the center. In this case, we're using a model that hasn't been trained for ARC, by the way.
Right.
Instead, what's different is we're using something that we call a RAG. It's basically like a database that contains a bunch of knowledge about the game. In this case, Studio Wildcard's content and their official wiki.
Right.
And so it has like a ridiculous amount of really in-depth information. And so that's how it knows so much about it. And if you were to ask it, for example, about today's events, it wouldn't know because it's not connected to the internet. And then there's other ways that you could guardrail the LLM such that it only talks about its intended purpose. For this use case, it's actually a little bit more intelligent because it can route your questions intelligently. If I ask it about the game, it knows that I need its help for game-specific guidance. If I talk about my system, it understands that I need system-specific guidance. But that doesn't mean that you can't guardrail it in terms of just making sure that it's providing actually insightful advice.
Right.
And the other thing I should mention about the RAG setup is that that's important actually, because if Studio Wildcard tomorrow pushes out an update that adds 10 new dinosaurs and a bunch of content, so long as the database is constantly maintained, that's no problem. But imagine if you had to retrain a whole model, then that would take ages. And if the questions that you're asking go beyond the training set, it's just not going to know how to respond. So this methodology ensures that the answers are constantly up to date. It's coming from an updated source, and they're insightful, essentially.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. So what else are we going to show?
So,
all right, so
let's quickly dive through the system information part of it.
Okay.
You can ask it really simple questions like, what's my FPS? What's my PC latency? Of course, we have access to a bunch of telemetry through FrameView SDK, which Nvidia app includes. But I can ask it a more complicated question. So I can say, can you graph my CPU and GPU utilization in the last, 3 minutes?
Okay.
And it's going to go ahead and chart that for me. And that you can certainly imagine in the future, I'm thinking I could say, I had a hitch 2 minutes ago. I wonder what happened. And so this would essentially help diagnose what's wrong. And here you can see that it's charted it out for us in the last 3 minutes. And you can actually download this to CSV, which I think is really cool. And you can do this for a bunch of different telemetry. You can ask it to optimize your graphics settings for a particular game.
Wow. Okay.
You can ask it to overclock your GPU.
Wow.
But there's one really cool one that I want to show you. So for example, let's say, what's my power usage? This is a 4090, so I'm expecting, we're power limited in this room.
Right.
So I'm expecting something like 300 watts. So we're going to give it a complex request. So I'm going to say, we were at what, like 65 FPS? We'll say, hey, can you make my PC more power efficient, but don't drop below 60 FPS?
Wow. Okay.
So we're going to give it a second to think here, but it's going to issue that command, and what it's actually going to do is it's going to downclock the clock speed until it hits 60 FPS, and then it's going to stop. I'm going to ask it to graph it for me. It's already completed it. Can you graph FPS and power usage in the last 2 minutes? And then you'll see the difference. It's giving me a bunch of analysis. I want it to graph both. Graph both power usage and FPS in the last 3 minutes. Let's give it another try.
That's really cool.
There it goes. Please don't time out. Okay, excellent. So this is what I wanted to show.
Oh, wow.
So the red line is the average FPS. You can notice that it was at like 70 FPS, and then it dropped to close to 60 FPS, but the power consumption dropped from something like 300 watts all the way to, what is it, 105 watts or something similar, 178. So a very marginal change in performance for a drastic improvement in power efficiency. And you can certainly imagine how this would be useful in power constraint scenarios, for example, if you're on a laptop with limited power. So this is just a few examples of all the stuff that it can do. But we could talk all day about this project.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that in and of itself, and I mean, it's funny because that's stuff that most individuals don't know how to do, right? Like going in there, and it might be something where, like in the end, like you might be playing a laptop, you're 20 minutes from finishing a game, you're looking at 19 minutes of battery life, and you're like, I need to get this, like it's kind of like what happened to me on the Intel live show where I couldn't finish the homeworld mission, and all of a sudden so there are some real world examples of what that is. Or then again, it's like, little Johnny's got a 4090, 1400 KS system, and mom's a little mad at the power at the power bill. So it's like, can you make your games less powerful, or whatever it is. But that's actually really cool. But the big one could be like, hey, is there something I can do to just get my performance, like give me the optimal
give me more
performance.
performance.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even just guidance, like people, like not everyone understands what anisotropic filtering is. Like, what the hell does that do? How does that affect my performance? Help me out and increase my performance in whatever way it deems appropriate.
Yeah. So
Jamie,
do you have any questions from anybody in the chat?
Yeah. So there are some questions about how. Hold on a second. There's some questions about.
Keep to yourself so people can hear you ask the questions. Sorry. Yeah. So they want to hear you ask the questions. Yeah. We still want you chatting. Yeah.
All right. So there are some questions here.
Or I'm failing on this. There we go. There are some questions about whether this is working on a driver level. Is this working on a system level when you're doing the system tuning? What layer is that happening on?
That's a great question. So currently it's calling all these different GPU functions. So it's happening at the driver level, it's happening at the GPU level. It basically has access to all the different functions that NVIDIA app has, that the control panel has.
Right.
And obviously if we eventually give this out to developers, you could have access to a bunch of different other aspects of the machine. Imagine being able to say, hey, I want you to turn off E-cores, turn off hyper-threading, or maybe it's something like MSI Afterburner, or maybe it's something like Logitech. I want you to increase my polling rate to 8K, decrease my DPI to 400. And so the idea is for it to be a unified assistant that has access to a bunch of different system controls.
And that's gonna be the weird thing, right? Like when all of a sudden you're like, it's like, Hal, can you, you know what I mean? Like in terms of just all the things you're gonna be able to have, like it's turning, it's like, oh man, like I've noticed, like I have this annoying kid in Discord, or hey, can you just turn off chat, or can you shut off Discord, or can you do voice, or even other things like
deliver me a pizza.
Deliver me. Yeah. Wait, well, I don't know if that'll be a GeForce Assist, but the point is
That was
that
a legitimate question.
Oh,
That was a legitimate question. Like, while you're in game, can you ask your AI assistant? Can you ask G Assistant to order you pizza?
so World of Warcraft.
We could add
had
that to the roadmap,
Yeah,
too.
World of Warcraft actually already had that in there, where you could say order a pizza at one point in time. So that is something that has happened. But in terms of from the AI stuff, it's like more in terms of. It's like it'll know everything that's going on, or it might even give you, it's like, hey, by the way, you might be noticing some stuttering because I'm seeing it.
That'd be
and
awesome.
You've seen Corsair IQ is taking 25% of your resources. Do you want me to shut it off?
Yeah.
And you're like, and that gives me that's where the agent really kind of takes the
Yeah,
next level.
troubleshooting.
Yeah, troubleshooting and stuff like that. Or even it's like, what happened? Like, did you notice something in Power Spike or whatever? Or I'm getting these black flashes.
Yeah.
Things that literally frustrate users. And it could even pull in stuff from outside where it's like, oh, we just noticed based on Call of Duty that we've seen a higher number of reports with this incompatibility, so this might be infecting you or whatever it was.
Very
right?
cool.
So the opportunity now that we have all these things that are aggregating this data in an intelligent way is for you to spend less time trying to solve your issues or optimizing your performance, which is really cool.
The idea is to provide, essentially whatever is helpful for the player. I know that this is some of the sort of stuff that I would use personally.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. We're happy to hear feedback, see what they'd like to see next, and eventually it's the developers that are going to have to bring this out. But I trust that there's a lot of motivation.
Well, you're getting live feedback right now. They want to order pizzas.
I've already written that down.
So we have any other questions going on?
A lot of questions about when this is available. How soon can people get their hands on this?
That's a good indication right there, because I think all in all, like this is one of the things I actually really liked about this particular demo, is that I feel like we're starting to see things. Like I feel like us talking about DLSS in the other room, all of these things are starting to make how AI can help us just much more realistic. So I love seeing people are getting excited about it.
Yeah, that's me too.
And he's going to go work on it right now, and we're going to here to announce it'll be here next week. Just text it. I'll put his phone number right now.
Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate the thanks.
Any other questions, or should we move on?
Let's go ahead and move on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
So I understand you've seen Covert Protocol before. We can quickly introduce it, but it's up to you.
No, let's do this one. I mean, again, I think one of the things I've actually really liked, and this is where you guys can have a little bit of fun, is this is essentially AI integrated into a game via natural language, etc. So it's giving personality and more to the actual characters in the game, and then allowing you to interact in a much more natural way.
That's right.
So when you think about games like Mass Effect, when you think about these, even games like Cyberpunk or whatever, like you're going to have more personality, but then again, it'll make that world around you. I remember the biggest thing in AI, probably 10 years ago, was like, look at how they have their own lives and all this other stuff, but now it's not only they have their own lives, they also have robust personalities, and then it'll be like, what's that movie with Ryan Reynolds where he becomes like sentient and then they get to come out into the real world? Yeah, whatever.
Agency. Yeah.
So, what?
It's a Deadpool?
No, that's not sponsored, by the way. Okay, so tell us a little bit about this one. So this one is a new one. This one is debuted
Yeah,
here
so
at
this one you haven't seen. So if you're familiar with ACE, ACE is essentially our initiative for AI NPCs. And so this is a demo by Perfect World. They're working on this unannounced title, and they've built this little demo here. And so what's neat about ACE on this particular demonstration is there's a few things going on. One is the automatic speech recognition that's happening locally. I've shown you some of that there. Two is audio-to-face animation, which is one of the really hard things for developers to, it takes a lot of work. And so the AI is animating the character's face depending on the phonetics. And so it doesn't matter what language it speaks. The animations and the lip sync will be as accurate as possible, irrespective of the language, which leads me to number 3. This is new. It's multilingual. So for this particular demo, you can speak to it in English and it'll transcribe it to Chinese, or you can speak to it in Chinese and then it'll transcribe to English and speak back in Chinese.
Which, by the way, Jacob came into me and he was like, hey, so I don't know if you saw that Rosetta Stone thing that I sent you like 6 weeks ago, but I hope that you've learned. And I was like, I don't know what that was. And he's like, so what?
6 weeks is more than enough
Yeah, I
time.
agree, but you got to give me a little heads up. So he's like, I hope you're ready to go ahead and talk to this fully. And I was like, I know how to say ni hao and xie.
That's good enough. We can try it.
Yeah.
So similar to Covert Protocol, this is set in a game, so she has a backstory. And so, you know, just press 1 if you want to talk to her.
Okay.
Just press 1 and then ask her whatever you want.
So I can just be like, ni hao.
好的，没问题。
I think we need to.
帮你的吗？
I think we held down 1 a bit too early. Let's try again.
Ni hao. Oh, there you go. Hey, look at
你
that.
好，有什么可以帮到你的吗？
And then I could say, what are we supposed to be doing right now? There it is. It's going to Chinese.
我们现在需要确定下一步行动的目标。
Right. This is part of the story. What's your name and what are you doing here?
我叫云妮，是丛林部落的公主。现在我需要找出部落族人生病的原因。
Can you say that again in English?
Wow.
My name is Yuni. I am the princess of the jungle tribe. Right now, I need to find out the cause of the illness affecting my people.
Right.
Got it. Do you think it could have something to do with the fact that your crown's pretty uncomfortable?
I appreciate your input, but the illness is not related to my crown.
So this is is the demo just more than talking to her? Because I remember Covert Protocol. We actually had to solve the whole thing.
Right. So this particular demo is just a conversational demo.
Okay.
You know, you saw how her face is animating, but Covert Protocol is different in the sense that it's a narrative.
Right.
So what's different about Covert Protocol is that it's a demonstration of how a proper game with AI NPCs might go or be designed. And so in it, you play as a detective. You're trying to find out the room number of one of the guests.
Yep.
And the way to do that is you talk to all the different NPCs in the lobby to try to extract that information. And depending on how you engage with them, you can make them angry, you can make them happy, give you hints. And you know, it's all running with Nworld's backend, which I don't know if you saw last time, but I think it would be really cool for you to see that. You know,
oh, wow, okay.
Every character has like uniquely crafted backstories that the game developers have to create. You know, this is Diego. You can talk to him in a moment. You might remember that he's very rude.
Right.
So they have different motivations. They have a huge background story, triggers that might prompt them to take actions that essentially proceed in the game state or allow you to move on in the game state. And so what's new about this particular demo is simply that automatic speech recognition and audio to face is all running on device. And we've added a new character here, and you know, you can feel free to ask him whatever you want.
Hey, that is a pretty sweet leather jacket. Did you get that from Jensen?
Oh no, this jacket. I actually got it from my brother, who got it from a friend. But you know, I'm a tech and gaming fan. Oh, I do know a thing or two about Nvidia.
Here he goes. Here he goes.
Okay, I was not expecting that level, but that's actually pretty awesome. You have some really nice hair, but how much product do you have to use to get it that tall?
Haha, thanks. Surprisingly, not too much. Just enough to build small and play big.
This dude.
Sorry, this is the part that actually makes me laugh because it's like, again, they have really real response to that. Do you know any really good dad jokes? Because the front character guy.
Again.
Absolutely. Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? because it was too tiring.
Oh my God, no. I'm out. I'm out.
So guys, we only have about 15 minutes left, and I know we have one more demo that we're going to show down at the very end.
Yeah.
But if you want to see the whole Covert Protocol demo, head on over to youtube.com/Robeytech Live. We actually did it at PDX-Land, walked through the whole thing, showed you beginning to end how that worked. Again, these are things that are the proof of concepts, and they now have 3 of these ACE demos. The Ramen Shop one, which is actually a lot of fun, and they actually added a bunch of Robeytech information when we got to see that at CES. And then now we have the Perfect World, and then, of course, obviously, spacing on the name.
Covert Protocol.
Yeah, Covert Protocol. I'm almost perfect, but I don't have AI. That's just where an agent would have helped me. But yeah, that's cool. So we have one more that we're going to show way down at the end. And then we'll get to the giveaways and all that other stuff. But do we have any questions on this before we get too far? I want to make sure we have some people ask questions. Or do they have something we wanted to ask? Did anybody say ask it?
Can you order me a pizza?
Okay. Hey, Jason, I'm late to a meeting, but can you order me a pizza real quick?
Sorry, I'm not able to do that, but I can point you towards some great pizza joints nearby.
Okay, so he can't get it. You can give me some pizza, some great pizza joints nearby.
Ask him which ones those are.
Which are the best pizza joints nearby?
Personally love Pizza Luigi's and Pizza Palace.
Pizza Palace.
Both have delicious options and are just a short walk away from the hotel.
Yeah, you see, it's interesting how like you can ask them about whatever they want, but the dialogue is constrained still within the story. He's still a concierge. It's still about the hotel. If you keep talking to him, he's going to try to progress you in the story. So the cool thing about it is there's a lot more freedom in how you have a dialogue with them, but it's still within the game world and there's still constraints.
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about the potential, I mean, there is so much potential for something like this, especially for your larger RPG narratives where you're creating something. And again, all of these, the one thing he was showing, I think a lot of people were saying, AI is going to be something that is going to take away the world of writers, but there's a lot that they have to put in here to craft the stories to help them build the large language models that in the end up making the characters more real. These don't just kind of generate them on themselves. So there's still a lot of room for making this, and I think we're going to see some really spectacular stuff soon-ish, you know what I mean? Because we've always asked, like, when are we going to see something like this in game? Do we know yet? No?
I can't announce anything today.
There you go. But I just had to practice this PR speak. You know what I mean? That's to do is, like, we have to get at least one in there. Okay, so we're going to head down.
Let's check out Pulsar.
Yeah, let's check out Pulsar. And look at this. You guys this is the cool thing is, guys, is right now you're getting the full experience. This is exactly how press and everybody else would come to the room, get to check out all of these demos and all this sort of stuff, just like what you're seeing. So we're here in Taipei. You're walking with the team. This is the same thing that, Linus and basically Gear Seekers and all of these guys get to come and see. And then, then there's Kevin just sitting on the couch there. We have to point him out. Okay, so this is Pulsar.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to see this at CES, and this thing is absolutely insane, especially if you're an FPS. So give them the full rundown of what we got going on.
Yeah, we got here right in time, like 10 minutes before the round timer ended. So this is G-Sync Pulsar. Like Robey said, we showed him this at CES. And it's essentially the next evolution in G-Sync technology, so variable refresh. Previously, of course, G-Sync is well known for its variable refresh technology. Essentially what it does is it prevents the screen from tearing because it's matching the monitor's refresh rate to the GPU's render rate. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of Nvidia tech that has released in the past few years is called ultra-low motion blur, which is essentially a strobing technique that pulses the backlight such that motion blur is reduced. So the way that it works is, the reason why motion blur happens is because when pixels move from one location to the next, there's this phenomena of image persistence in the retina of our eyes. And so it appears as though the text is trailing, and the viewers will not be able to see what you guys are seeing because you need a pursuit camera, actually, to see the blur that you and I are perceiving, Robey.
Right.
But you can see here, as I move the CT model left to right, it's really hard to read the text, for example. And so what Pulsar does is it combines variable refresh with advanced strobing techniques that essentially pulse the backlight really, really quickly. And what that does is it eliminates motion blur. And so I have a cool little switch on this early prototype, and when I turn it on, Robey, you're going to be able to read the text like very, very, very clearly. And so, again, the viewers are not going to be able to see this, but you can read the text a lot more clearly. Right. You can see the details in the character model. Like, imagine you're trying to track his head while you're trying to get a headshot. It becomes difficult to do that.
Yeah, that makes
so
a big
it's almost,
difference.
you see, it's almost like you're putting your glasses on.
That's actually really crazy, and it's unfortunate again, but this is.
I think people can see the lines on the screen changing.
Yeah, so they can. So that's right. So that's an excellent point. So what they're seeing is they're seeing the backlight pulsing when I turn it on. Yeah. That is what Pulsar is doing. It's strobing the backlight super, super quickly. That is how you know that it's working. And when I turn it off, they won't see that.
Yep, that is true. So there we go. You guys are seeing it in a different way. You're like, that's actually making it more annoying for people who are watching via camera. Yeah. But for those of us who are playing, this, I will tell you, for people who play high precision games, CS:GO, your Apex Legends, essentially your pixel, like Rainbow Six Siege, your pixel shooters, this is going to make a massive difference in terms of your ability to recognize. And I think a lot of the stuff is that when you combine this with like essentially super low res settings and everything else, every opportunity you have to be able to see things way clearer is what is going to make you better at the game. And this will actually be a pretty big advantage, you know what I mean? Because I know, I talked to folks like Nothing and other ones about this, and so this will be something where you will see an advantage. This is close to coming out, though, yeah?
Yeah, it should be available later this year. And, I should mention that this is actually a really tough problem to solve. Like, the engineering teams have been working on solving this problem for like 10 years or something ridiculous like that. And like mathematically, so this is a 360 hertz monitor. I've downclocked this GPU so that you're at 120 so you can see it more easily. But mathematically, the way it turns out is with Pulsar on, you're effectively seeing 4 times the effective motion clarity of the base refresh rate. So what you're seeing here with Pulsar on is essentially the motion clarity you would get if you had a 360 hertz display. So what that means is if this were running at 360 hertz, what you would be seeing with your eyes is the effective motion clarity of a 1,000 hertz display, which is nuts.
Yeah. And not out yet. Not that I know of yet.
No, there's no 1,000 hertz. There's a few folks that are working on this, but there's nothing in the market quite there yet. So this is one way to get there very, very soon.
And you might be asking, and I know this has come up a number of times that people are like, Robey, do people notice the difference between 360? We did that whole thing with Zemi and Takata with Fortnite is showing like the effect of high refresh rate monitors. But when you have conversations, especially people who play at a high level, like on the 26th or 27th floor of a building, just kidding, who play at a high level for games like CS:GO, Rainbow Six, and stuff like that, all of this stuff can make a massive advantage in terms of just the difference between player 1 and player 2, which is why when you go to an esport thing, like you will probably see stuff like this where this will show up, especially for IEM, etc., where these kind of monitors will be used, and that every one of these people will be like, I will absolutely use this because anything that allows me to just pull out that pixel and take that headshot will absolutely matter. So very, very cool, and it has been something like, believe it or not, that people have wanted to fix, hence why engineers were taking a decade to try and figure it out. And so this will be on G-Sync. Like there's a tier that they're still trying to figure out where this will be.
That's right. I think they're still trying to figure it out. But essentially, this development necessitated like new panel tech.
Right.
And so the complication is that it can't be like a firmware upgrade. It needs like a new chip on the display.
Right.
And so I think that's what they're working on currently, and I think that's why we'll see it later this year. I'm not entirely sure how the brands are gonna, or how the tier will pan out. But I'm sure we'll have more to share soon.
And then the other thing too is, of course, is also that the fact is that you will need an Nvidia GPU for this to actually. I believe that was the other thing too. Is it the Nvidia GPU plus the chip in the panel potentially?
I'm not sure that that's the case.
Okay,
I think that you need I think that you need a G-Sync chip.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, right, Jacob?
We'll find out.
We don't know. To check.
But we always like to bring it, like, again, this is one, and maybe there's some feedback on that stuff. I know everybody's going to be like, make it for everybody, but I mean, you never know, like, how that whole thing works. But this is incredibly cool. Yeah. Hopefully you guys saw some really rad stuff. Do you have any questions on this, Damien? No, then we should probably get to the giveaway because it's going to take 4 minutes and we have 5 minutes. Because the other thing too is there's actually 3 bouncers outside. They're like, "Hey, Robey, get out of here, bam," or whatever it is, right? Let's. Is Blondie ready and all that sort of stuff? Why don't we head into the SFF room where we have the Nvidia thing, and that's a great place to close. Hey, by the way, thank you very much for all of that stuff. So,
no, thanks so much. Yeah. Thanks everyone.
If you want to run down through some of those cases during the giveaway too, there were some questions about just what we were looking at in that room.
Oh, the cases. Yeah, we can. Oh, okay. Yeah, they had some questions about the cases that we were looking at here. So you can show some of those off while we're doing the giveaway. Is the giveaway running? Jasmine, just let me know if when Blondie knows. Just tell her to text me when we have a winner who the winner name is. Oh, and also, guys, it's only on the Robeytech channels, youtube.com/Robeytech and twitch.tv/Robeytech. You also have to be a member of the Discord server, discord.gg/Robeytech, so make sure that you're on there. And then if you are a sub, you do get extra entries. If you're so use your Amazon Prime sub, get your free extra entries if you want to get in on that. And then you're good to go. We're giving away a 4060 from Zotac. Thank you so much to Nvidia for hooking us up with that. Yeah. And I hope you guys have been enjoying this content. Apparently, there's some puffs that you put on your equipment.
We had some of those. Have you had those before?
Yes. Oh, they're amazing.
Locked up just a second.
Okay. Are we good again? Okay, we're good again. So yeah, apparently, and we have them on there, and so we've only had 2 glitches, so apparently it does work.
3 glitches now.
Oh yeah, 3 glitches. Thank you for keeping.
Those are really good, by the way.
They are. I will be taking them with me when we go because I was going to go to the 7-Eleven and pick some up on the way. Yeah. All right. So what kind of? So while we're waiting for the giveaway to go, we had some questions on some of the cases.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just curious about.
There's some curiosity about, especially these 2 here. Some people weren't familiar with what those were.
Okay, yeah. So this one right here, this is InWin, and I mean I should have known that just from the beginning because it's InWin. InWin is always weird. So this is the InWin POC1 in here, and then again, wow, there's some it's like rubber. So it actually looks
I think this case actually ships flat, if I'm correct.
Oh, okay. So you can kind of expand. It looks like one of those things you see at your kid, when you drop your kids off at play school, and it's like one of those collapsible houses, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? And this is just to protect from people like Damien who just can't have sharp things. And then this one right here is the MSI MEG Treble, which it actually looks like a pod from Halo. So I think Master Chief comes included with every single one. If you, it's bundled with one of these SFF safe safe GPUs. What's up, Damien?
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually really, really cool. So those are the 2 cases. Then of course the Terra, and then we just got to see the new version of this. The Mood got announced from Fractal yesterday, and that one I also believe actually
that one was also SFF ready. Yeah.
Yeah, and their other new one.
The NV2.
Yes. NV2.
Yeah, the NV2 is the other new case.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, the N...
We just have a confirmation that that Pulsar is going to require a GeForce GPU.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so we did want to verify that we got you the right information. I thought I remembered that from CS, but we want to make sure we get you the right info, so appreciate that. Any other questions that we got, Damien?
No, just...
Everybody's just blowing up the giveaway here. They are eager.
Yeah, and we're going to be drawing the winner for that. Guys, one thing as we get to the end of this, and I know we have a couple more minutes on the giveaway, what do you guys think about being able to do live stuff like this? Do you like seeing the behind the scenes? Make sure that you tweet at Jacob or at Nvidia, just say how much you enjoyed the stream, and of course you guys tuning in. I hope that you guys got to see some stuff that you've never seen before. I know you guys always love it when we have Jacob on the show and all that sort of stuff. What any people are just still enjoying?
People really, really love the show. There are a couple of people that asked if they can come and work for Jacob.
In what way? Is there some other business that we don't know
shoe
about?
shining, maybe.
He does have some nice Adidas today.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
Not sponsored.
Maybe.
Jacob's looking for potential options.
People also asking about how to get Nvidia swag.
Oh, maybe we'll have to do some of that on a future show.
Maybe, yeah.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Oh my gosh, I like how our guys have just really been all about the swag when they've been out here. So
shameless. Shameless.
Yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. And then how much time do we have left on the giveaway? Oh, it's ended? Oh, who's our winner?
We're waiting on confirmation here.
You should see the name.
Alex 117.
Alex
Nice.
117. So we're just verifying that that's good. We're just waiting for a text and
go ahead and whisper Blondie at Twitch.
There we go, guys. Congratulations. So what's next? Like, what we got Summer of GeForce that's happening right now. What are some of the things that we got coming up for NVIDIA if you guys, for all the folks who are
obviously
watching?
we have, or if you're not familiar, we have the Summer of GeForce going on. Tons of giveaways as part of that one. I'm going to spoil it a bit. There is an initiative around that I'm working on this one that's yet to be announced for Summer of RTX, which is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, just stay tuned to the NVIDIA channels or my channels, and we'll be talking about that one really soon.
And don't worry, guys, we're trying to get, we're definitely planning more stuff hopefully soon with us doing more here with NVIDIA. Like I mean, the PDX LAN thing was so fun that we actually got to. That was actually really cool. So we're looking at doing potentially something even longer that lasts a while. So we have our thinking caps on and all that sort of stuff.
Can we do another giveaway, or is that going to break things?
We could always do another giveaway. What do you want to give away?
Let's do another one. Let's do the same card.
Oh, we're going to do two.
Let's do another one.
We're going to do another giveaway. So we're going to do one.
Another Zotac.
Yeah, another Zotac.
We'll do another one.
So you can just pick another winner. Yeah. So there we go, guys. Unless you want to run it again. I don't want to run it for
Blondie is saying right now that Alex is not responding. I did see Alex 117 say something in chat. So Alex, please whisper Blondie bit geeky. All right, they did. All right.
Okay, and then we can have her just draw another winner. Yeah, so she'll go and draw a second winner. Thank you very much to NVIDIA for hooking us up with that. So there we go, 2 winners. Surprise! Summer of GeForce.
You never know what could happen. It's live.
It's live.
This is live.
It's live. Anything's live and going from there. So yeah, So you guys are doing Summer of GeForce. What are some of the events that you're going to be going to? Because I know that you spent a lot of time trying to hang out with folks.
Well, I can't confirm anything yet, but usually we go to PDX LAN, all the time. QuakeCon is one that we typically go to as well. So those are all ones that we're looking at. Actually, the one this weekend, the IGN event this weekend, we actually may be doing something there as well.
Oh, that's cool. And then if you now stream on a pretty consistent basis, so if people want to just hang out with you, learn more about NVIDIA, but also see gaming, when does that actually happen?
Every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/NVIDIA.
There you go. And so if you guys want to get you want to beg him for more jobs, I guess. or
if you haven't got enough of me yet from this stream, you can find more of me every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time.
And we're just waiting. Did we get our second winner?
I think do we have something?
PC Guy 8088 is our second winner, and we're just waiting for confirmation from Blondie. She needs to text Jasmine or somebody on our team so we know, and then we'll be good to go. And again, I want to give a huge shout out to NVIDIA for allowing us to come. This is the first time that you guys have ever done something like this where we've been able to just live stream. You got to see it all live. I really actually enjoyed the demo, so we may have him on the show. I mean, he's a little bit shady. You know what I mean? But all that sort of stuff. Yeah, why don't you mute? Come back in here. Come say. So yeah, again, guys, thanks so much to NVIDIA and everybody else. We are confirmed, but again, thank you guys so much for allowing us to come in here, showing the demo and all that sort of stuff. That is it for the live coverage here at Computex. Next time, at least CES, I think it'll be, we'll see what else there is. But I'm sure there's lots of stuff coming up, and we'll try and get to more events. Again, please give us feedback. Let us know that you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to